As is our tradition at the beginning of your testimony, we welcome you to introduce any members of your family that are joining us today. Admiral Tidd, you have been nominated to serve as the next commander of U.S. Southern Command. If confirmed, you will be responsible for overseeing a region facing a daunting array of security and governance challenges. At the same time, however, you'll be forced to confront those challenges without the support you require due to persistent resource shortfalls that plague our efforts in the region. In testimony before this committee in March, General John Kelly, the outgoing SOUTHCOM commander, framed the impact of these longstanding resource shortfalls in stark terms by stating, "This presents more than just risk to our national interest. U.S. Southern Command has accepted risk for so long in this region that we now face a near-total lack of awareness of threats and the readiness to respond should those threats reach crisis levels. Of particular concern is the deteriorating situation in Central America, where feeble governance, endemic corruption, and weak security institutions are allowing transnational criminal organizations to operate with impunity. Despite our efforts to counter these ruthless groups and the drugs they traffic into our country, it's clear we are not winning the war. The demand for the drugs, heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine is too high, and the profits too great to dissuade these criminals from their illicit actions. We, of course, must improve and adequately resource our drug interdiction strategy, but we must also reduce demand here at home. To be clear, the threat posed by these groups extends beyond the drugs they smuggle into our communities. The smuggling routes they control are also used to traffic weapons, bulk cash, and even humans, and pose a direct threat to our national security. While the challenges within the SOUTHCOM area of responsibility are significant, there are also opportunities. Colombia, once on the cusp of becoming a failed state, has emerged from decades of conflict as a remarkable example of what sustained U.S. support and engagement can achieve. Admiral, I look forward to your thoughts today on how you intend to approach both the enormous challenges and opportunities within the SOUTHCOM area of responsibility. Mr. Lettre, pronounce for me.
Lettre.
Mr. Lettre, thank you, and I apologize for the mispronunciation. Mr. Lettre, if confirmed to be the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, you would serve as the Principal Intelligence Advisor to the Secretary of Defense. The position of Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence was created in 2002 in the wake of the 9/11 attacks to better integrate, oversee, and prioritize intelligence resources and capabilities throughout the department. This mission has never been more important. Currently, the United States faces an increasingly complex global threat environment where terrorist organizations are metastasizing and now exercise state-like capabilities, and nation-state adversaries are increasingly asserting power, even through irregular and asymmetric means. Every component of our Defense Department must have timely intelligence to understand the varied threats we face, to prepare for potential conflict, and to respond swiftly, accurately, and decisively when necessary. In an age of decreasing budgets, accurate and timely intelligence becomes all the more vital. We look forward to discussing how Mr. Lettre plans to address his important mission. Mr. Camarillo, you are nominated to serve as the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. You currently serve as the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Acquisitions, Logistics, and Technology. If confirmed as Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, you would be responsible for the overall supervision of manpower and reserve component affairs of the Department of the Air Force. The Air Force is challenged with implementation of congressionally mandated reductions in headquarters personnel to transform what is currently a bloated infrastructure into a lean and responsive organization. I hope your recent experience in the Army headquarters will also bring a new, fresh perspective to the Air Force's remotely piloted aircraft personnel community. The Air Force must move away from legacy organizational structure in this vital area. The Air Force must also embrace the use of enlisted and warrant officer RPA pilots as it builds a viable career force. I look forward to hearing your views on this subject. Mr. Sparks, you have faithfully served as Commissioner to the United States Court of Appeals for the Armed Services for 14 years. You are a graduate of one of the finest educational institutions in the world, the United States Naval Academy, and you served with distinction as an officer in the United States Marine Corps. I cannot imagine a more able and qualified individual than you to serve as judge on the highest court in our military justice system. Our committee has been at the vanguard of recent significant changes to the military justice system, establishing new protections for victims of sexual assault, while preserving the rights of those military members accused of criminal activity, and while empowering the vital and necessary ownership of good order and discipline by military commanders. As an individual nominated to serve as a judge, neither I nor any of my colleagues would expect you to comment on a matter that might cause you to be disqualified on any future case that may come before the court. However, I look forward to hearing your views on the state of military justice as they are informed by your wealth of experience. So we'll begin with you, Secretary Lettre, and move down the list. And as I said, please feel free to introduce your family members after Senator Reid predicts what will happen on Saturday.
I have only one question, Mr. Sparks. Did you play football at Navy?
I did not, Senator.
Then you have a potential to be nominated to the position. With that, Mr. Chairman, I have a statement that simply describes the expertise and the increasing level of responsibilities and service of these gentlemen, which makes them all, in my view, well qualified for the jobs. And I would ask you my statement be made part of the record, and then allow you to continue.
Thank you. And before we begin with the witnesses, we have a standard questions for our civilian nominations, and that's Mr. Lettre, Mr. Camarillo, and Mr. Sparks. And if you'll just respond to the questions.
And Admiral Tidd as well.
Admiral Tidd as well.
Yes, sir. He'll have one last question.
All right, Admiral Tidd, you will have one last question. For all four of you then, in order to exercise its legislative and oversight responsibilities, it's important that this committee and other appropriate committees of the Congress are able to receive testimony, briefings, and other communications of information. Have you adhered to the applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest? Just say yes or no.
Yes. Yes, I have.
Have you assumed any duties or undertaken any actions which would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
No.
No.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established for requested communications, including questions for the records and hearings?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes.
Will those witnesses be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
Yes. Yes.
Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify upon request before this committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree to provide documents, including copies of electronic forms of communication, in a timely manner when requested by a duly constituted committee, or to consult with the committee regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such documents?
Yes.
Yes.
And Admiral Tidd, do you agree when asked to give your personal views, even if those views differ from the administration in power?
Yes, I do.
All right, Jack, you...
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please begin.
Chairman McCain, Senator Reid, members of the committee, I am
By the way, could I just interrupt one? Your complete statements will be made part of the record. Go ahead, please.
I am honored to be here with you this afternoon as you consider my nomination as Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. I would like to begin by introducing my family and guests in attendance today. I'm privileged to introduce my wife, Simmons, my daughters, McKinley, age 13, and Amelia, age 11, my brother, Peter Lettre, who's come down from Brooklyn, New York, my mother-in-law, Millie Ravenel, who's come up from Raleigh, North Carolina, my mother from Fredericksburg, Virginia, Mary Lettre, a proud Army wife and former teacher, and my father, Marcel Lettre, Sr., a retired Army colonel, airborne ranger, and Vietnam combat veteran, who, I might add, successfully avoided a Pentagon tour during his 27 years of service.
Miraculous. Congratulations to all the family members, and we're very pleased that you would take the time to be here, and I know it's a proud time for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also pleased that a number of other friends and colleagues are here, including two college friends and former colleagues, Jason Forrester and Andrew Williams. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to thank the defense leaders I've had the privilege to work with over the last 7 years, including Secretary Carter, Deputy Secretary Bob Work, former Secretaries Bob Gates, Leon Panetta, and Chuck Hagel, and former Undersecretaries Mike Vickers, Michelle Flournoy, and Jim Miller. I'm honored that President Obama has nominated me as Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. If confirmed, I'll be proud to serve the men and women of the U.S. military and the defense intelligence enterprise. Our people, their dedication to mission, their skills, their integrity, and innovative spirit are our true strategic advantage. Mr. Chairman, I believe we're facing one of the most complex geostrategic landscapes we've seen in several decades, and the need for integrated, informed, cutting-edge intelligence has never been greater. If confirmed, I intend to focus on 3 priorities. First, fostering jointness and integration across defense intelligence, a critical source of our strategic advantage. In this regard, I look forward to a continued partnership with Director of National Intelligence Jim Clapper and the leaders of the 17 organizations that make up the intelligence community. I also applaud this committee's efforts to review the record of defense and intelligence reform spurred by the 1986 Goldwater-Nichols Act and other subsequent reform initiatives. I welcome a dialogue on further initiatives that we can undertake to enhance the efficiency, effectiveness, and agility of defense intelligence. Second, providing intelligence support to current operations. We must bring the powerful capabilities of defense intelligence to bear on a range of pressing current operational challenges, most notably countering ISIL, countering Russian aggression, operationalizing the Asia-Pacific rebalance, providing intelligence support to cyber defense, countering proliferations of weapons of mass destruction, and ensuring stability in Afghanistan. Third, investing in innovative future capabilities. As the Department pursues technologies and operational concepts that will ensure a strong advantage over adversaries for decades to come, what Bob Work has called the third offset, 5 investment areas are particularly important for ensuring an enduring and innovative defense intelligence advantage. Capabilities that ensure global coverage, operating in anti-access area denial environments, counterterrorism and counterproliferation, cyber defense, and countering insider threat. Even as resources remain constrained, we must sharpen the impressive capabilities that keep America's superior technological edge. This committee's oversight and guidance steer these efforts. I look forward to contributing to a close partnership shaped by strong and regular dialogue between defense intelligence leaders and this committee in order to further the committee's oversight responsibilities. We must implement our priorities in defense intelligence while being ever vigilant about the need for vigorous protection of the principles, rights, and freedoms from which America gains its strength. Our intelligence analysts must always hear from our leaders that we expect them to speak truth to power, to call it as they see it. And above all, those of us privileged to serve in these positions of responsibility recognize that we owe our citizens and our families our full focus and our full energy on keeping the nation safe and secure. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Camarillo.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Reid, members of the committee, I'm grateful for the opportunity to appear before the committee today, and I also appreciate the confidence that President Obama, Secretary Carter, and Secretary James have placed in me by supporting my nomination as Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. I begin by thanking my family for their love and support. I'm joined today by my wife, Nicole, and my 2 children, which include my 12-year-old son, Ethan, and my 7-year-old daughter, Natalie. They are equally grateful to this committee for providing them with the basis for an excused absence from school.
Is it the one with the bow in her hair there?
Yes, Senator.
You certainly look beautiful today. Thank you.
I would be remiss if I did not thank my parents, my siblings, and countless colleagues and mentors who have enabled me to succeed. Working with the dedicated airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marines, and department civilians that I have encountered remains the highest honor of my career. Their talent and dedication sets an example for our nation, and their enduring contributions remain our greatest asset. Over the past 5 years, I've been extremely privileged to serve with Army soldiers and civilians in support of the Army's acquisition efforts. This experience has underscored the vital importance of our people, the talent they contribute, and the expertise that they provide. As Secretary James has stated, the Air Force's greatest strength is its people. And if confirmed, I will dedicate my efforts to ensuring that active duty, National Guard, Reserve, and civilian airmen receive the support that they need as they work selflessly to defend our country. Thank you again for considering my nomination, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Mr. Sparks.
Chairman McCain and Senator Reed, members of the committee, thank you all for having me here today. I'd like to thank as well the President for his expression of confidence in me today. I am joined here by my wife of 40 years, Wendy, my daughter, Adrian, my son, Casey, and my sister, Mrs. Constance Williams from Philadelphia,
Welcome.
and a number of colleagues in the back, I believe. Senator, I have been involved with military justice in one aspect or another for over 30 years now. So this is an area of the law that I often refer to as my second great love. My first great love, of course, is seated behind me. I've been passionate about public service, and of the 44 years of public service I have behind me, I would not trade a single day of it for anything. For the 14 years prior to my recent retirement from federal civilian service, I had the privilege of working at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces. It was truly a pleasant and professionally rewarding experience, and one that I will forever treasure. Although many members of the public may not be familiar with this particular court, in my view, it is the centerpiece of the military justice system. Established in 1950, it has more than fulfilled Congress's intent to establish a specialized, independent civilian appellate court for the review of courts-martial. If confirmed for a seat on the court, I pledge to uphold its reputation for integrity, intellectual honesty, and independence. And I hope to join a long line of respected jurists who have indeed made this an honorable court. Thank you, and I am prepared, as well as the others, for questions from the committee.
Thank you. Admiral.
Chairman McCain, Ranking Member Reed, Senators, I'm honored to meet with you today as the President's nominee to command U.S. Southern Command. I'm excited by the opportunities and the challenges accompanying this position, and I'm humbled by the enormous shoes that I will fill if you confirm this nomination. I know General John Kelly is held in high regard by this body as an absolutely candid combatant commander and as a leader of unquestioned integrity, enjoying your full trust and confidence. If confirmed, I am committed to being as candid and forthright as General Kelly and will work closely with this committee to build the same bonds of trust and confidence. Before introducing two family members with me today, I would like to mention several who are unable to be here. My dad served 34 years in the Navy. He is a combat veteran of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He is my mentor and role model, the single most influential person I look to for advice on how to lead and guidance on how to serve. That said, like most service families, my mother was the real unsung hero, raising two sons and moving households over a score of times while Dad was at sea. Dad's health prevents him from being here today, but he is watching on C-SPAN. We lost Mom this time last year, but her impact lives on in our extended family and in all the families whose lives she touched. My parents inspired my brother Mark and me to serve in the Navy. Mark took a slightly different path. Spending over 3 decades as a Navy chaplain, including multiple combat tours, he recently retired as the Navy's 25th Chief of Chaplains. As I like to tell people, my big brother Mark is the good Admiral Tidd. My wife and partner of 24 years, Eileen, is here today, along with our youngest daughter, Jacqueline, a high school senior. Our oldest daughter, Catherine, is a college freshman and hopefully is studying for exams right now. Like all of my family, Eileen has spent a lifetime in service of our nation. She is a retired military physician with 7 years in the Army, where she earned a 1st Armored Division combat patch and a Bronze Star during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, followed by 13 years as a Navy physician. As a retiree, she continues to serve as a volunteer physician at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Eileen is the guiding force in our family. She holds everything together at home and allows me to pursue this Navy adventure. Her continued dedication and personal sacrifice are the real reason that I sit here today. The U.S. Southern Command contrasts real security challenges with plentiful opportunities. Within our shared Americas, we have partners who welcome our presence, who are eager to work together to confront the challenges posed by unequal prosperity, imperfect governance, and pervasive insecurity. Unlike other geographic regions, in the Americas, we have no nation able or interested in posing a credible threat to our way of life. But we do have transnational criminal organizations that prey upon this region, and we have external nations and non-state actors who are competing for influence and threatening our shared interests. If confirmed, I will work with this committee to ensure that Southcom's requirements continue to be relentlessly articulated and that innovative means are identified to deal with them. In closing, I'd like to thank the members of this committee for the support you provide the men and women who protect our nation. In an era characterized by self-promotion and instant fame, they remain motivated by notions of duty, honor, courage, and selflessness. They calmly confront fear and terror because they value the love and the trust of their teammates. Thank you for supporting them and for recognizing the irreplaceable role that they play safeguarding our uniquely blessed nation. If confirmed, I look forward to serving alongside these men and women in U.S. Southern Command, to partnering with our interagency teammates safeguarding the defense of the United States. I look forward to continuing the dedicated work of previous Southcom commanders who built a solid team with partner nations who shoulder the responsibility of safeguarding our shared Americas. I'm honored and humbled to have been nominated for this position, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Admiral. Mr. Sparks, I will have no questions for you except to say thank you for your many years of outstanding service, and we're glad you're going to be able to continue it as a member of the Court of Appeals. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Lettre, let me give you a quote from Secretary Gates, the one favorite of many of us on both sides, Republican and Democrat. Quote, "In the 40 years since Vietnam, we have a perfect record in predicting where we will use military force next. We have never once gotten it right." Does that have something to do with intelligence?
Mr. Chairman, it absolutely has everything to do with intelligence. I'm familiar with the quote. I know that even in the recent hearings that you chaired here at the committee, former Secretary Gates mentioned that as a way of pointing out that we need to be agile and innovative. That's certainly true in intelligence, where we can expect to be surprised all the time. And in that regard, we also need to recognize that surprise can come from places where we don't expect it. It can also come from adversaries who are trying to move faster than we are. So as we look at the responsibilities that we all have to invest in defense intelligence capabilities, if confirmed, my focus would really be on building the kind of capabilities for the future that allow for global coverage, that allow us to be able to adapt when surprise has occurred and react rapidly and outpace our adversaries with the strategic advantages that we bring to bear with the broader military capability.
Mr. Secretary, I just want to point out to you, and I'm sure you're aware, that there have been significant allegations about distortion of intelligence information as it comes up through Central Command to the President of the United States. This committee has been looking at it, and we will continue looking at it. There have been whistleblowers and others. We have reached no conclusion on this situation, but we'll be continuing to look at it, and I suggest that you also make yourself aware of these allegations and can help us resolve them one way or the other. It's very disturbing, these kinds of allegations, as I'm sure you understand.
Senator, I take those allegations, I view them very seriously. As I said in my opening statement, analysts need to be able to know they can speak truth to power and to call it like they see it. And as you know, one of the most rigorous investigative capacities that we have is the department's IG, and it's currently investigating that. We are, as you are, awaiting the IG's results and look forward to taking swift actions as appropriate once the IG is done with its work.
Thank you. Mr. Camarillo, you're stepping into a situation where we have just fundamentally, in the 2016 Defense Authorization Bill, changed the retirement system. We have mandated a 7.5% reduction in staffs over 4 years to 30%. One of the major areas that we are working on is the unfortunate tooth-to-tail trend that has continued to cause us to have bloated staffs, bloated senior officers, too many senior officers, and it is going to be one of the major areas of our hearings and investigation in the coming year. And it is a consensus on this committee, as well as from the witnesses we've had in our series of hearings of outside individuals with many years of experience, both in and out of the Pentagon, that we need to do something about it. I hope you understand and appreciate that.
Senator, I do. Certainly, the department, as I understand it, is working right now to come into compliance with those requirements established under the Defense Authorization Act. And Secretary Carter, I think, announced today, looks forward to working with the committee on a broad review of the headquarters and Goldwater-Nichols issues that you've identified. Certainly, if I'm confirmed, I look forward to doing the same as part of that effort in collaboration with this committee.
Thank you. Finally, Admiral Tidd, you mentioned General Kelly in your testimony, and we agree. He did an outstanding job and did speak truth to power. But more disturbing is what he noted in his testimony, that frankly, because of sequestration, which has nothing to do with you or him, it was an action taken by the Congress, that in the maritime domain, he said he's been forced to sit and watch nearly 75% of illicit trafficking pass through his AOR into the United States. Have you had a chance to authenticate or look at that? It's a pretty alarming fact that he cited in his testimony before this committee. Have you got a view on that?
Yes, Chairman, I do. I've seen the figures that he cited, and I think, if anything, they may understate the gravity of the challenge. That said, I think what he has done is taken advantage of opportunities to work with partners to try to mitigate some of those shortfalls. But with regard specifically to sequestration, I would have to agree with the words that he used, which is that it would be catastrophic, that the effects of sequestration, specifically with regard to the U.S. Southern Command, would be catastrophic. And that's simply because of the difficulty that it poses in terms of being able to plan effectively, the inability to take advantage of long-term planning to have the right forces in place, and recognition that as the theater that probably is the last in terms of priority of resources because of very valid considerations in other parts of the world, if there are fewer forces available to be able to meet the challenges, that will affect Southcom most. So I think it's a very serious consideration.
Thank you. Senator Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll follow the Chairman's lead by saying, Mr. Sparks, thank you very much for your service in so many different capacities, and I look forward to your continued service. And let me ask Secretary Lettre, one of the areas which is increasingly disturbing, I think, not only to myself but to the committee, is our inability to counter the information campaign of ISIL, which has many effects, both in the region and globally. This is a complicated interagency process. State probably has as big a lead as you might. Can you talk about, in your prospective role, what you would be doing to help this effort, not only to get information from their social contacts, et cetera, but also to disrupt their ability to communicate and attract adherents?
Senator, there really are two areas where I would be most interested in seeing, if confirmed, how I could contribute by catalyzing effort in the defense intelligence enterprise. One is in support of the interagency efforts. Clearly there are parts of our government who have the lead responsibility for either in diplomatic channels or here in the homeland with respect to the responsibilities of DHS and FBI to look at effective ways to counter the violent extremist message and the extent to which we can contribute to that appropriately with defense intelligence capability. I would like to do so. The second area gets back to the point made earlier about innovation. This is an area where our adversaries are able to leverage, I think it was mentioned in the hearing earlier this morning, that sometimes you see as many as 90,000 Twitter comments or individuals on Twitter echoing the comments of violent extremists and the savages associated with ISIL. And this is something that they're capable of doing on a very rapid and immediate timescale. And as a government, we've not found the right formula for being able to respond to that. So this really does require focused innovation within government, within the defense intelligence enterprise. It requires us to look at how to better leverage our understanding of open source information and how to better understand social media and its role. And then the final piece is this is a very good example of where the best and brightest minds of the U.S. industry can be brought to bear to help us with solutions here, whether it's in Silicon Valley or other parts of the region where creativity and innovation is occurring. And so outreach to those communities is essential on this score.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Secretary Camarillo, the chairman made this comment in his opening remarks, and I second it, which is that there's an acute shortage of Air Force personnel that are flying UAVs. And in situations in the past, particularly in Vietnam with the Army, when we needed a huge increase in helicopter pilots, we went to warrants officers. And are you going to sort of embrace that notion, I hope?
Senator, there's no question that 15 years of sustained high demand for ISR capabilities has created some significant challenges for the Air Force. I know for a fact that Secretary James and General Welsh and others are looking right now at a variety of courses of action to address this ongoing demand, one of which includes increasing the throughput of training programs for pilots. I think some of the statistics were 190 pilots a year to about 300 pilots a year. These and other efforts, I certainly know that they're looking at all of those, and if confirmed, certainly would want to examine those options and work with Secretary James and General Welsh to get a result that addresses this shortfall.
I think the chairman and I sort of share the same view, which is this is a highly specialized occupation, which you don't really have to put someone through the process of flying and then commanding and then going a staff job, et cetera. Again, my best analogy would be the numerous and incredibly effective warrant officers that flew in Vietnam. In fact, were the backbone of the Army aviation elements in Vietnam. Admiral Tidd, and this alludes also to, I think, comments you responded to with the chairman. You have an AO that is always under-resourced, but also one that requires more than as any other, perhaps, or as much interagency cooperation. You need DEA because a lot of that illicit traffic is drugs. It's not anything else. You need FBI to help you. You need CDC, for example, to be able to partner with you in terms of health in the region, which is an important part. And it goes back to the point also the chairman made about sequestration, how it hampers your ability to respond. But more broadly, do you just a sense of how you want to work on this interagency process, bring all these entities together in a more effective way?
Senator Reid, the interagency is absolutely critical to the activities and the operations of U.S. Southern Command. I think, as you know, they are very well represented down there within the headquarters with senior, capable members who are able to draw directly upon their organizations. It is the role of the military commander, frankly, is to act as the enabling platform to be able to pull together and help support and coordinate the activities. In most cases, as you've recognized, it won't necessarily be a military end game to deal with the kinds of security threats that we'll be working with down there. Oftentimes, it may be a partner nation law enforcement agency, a partner nation military, or a U.S. law enforcement activity, and probably in the last instance does it end up being a U.S. military. But the role of the combatant commander to be able to pull together, synchronize all of those activities, and focus some of the efforts, particularly taking advantage of the experience that we have in understanding networks and being able to orchestrate an effective strategy to detect, illuminate, and ultimately to take apart networks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing in front of us today, and I want to thank your beautiful families for being here as well. I know they are very proud of you. Secretary Lettre, I would like to start with you. I am concerned about military intelligence support to our war fighters and our current military intelligence force structure. As we are facing complex and growing threats at home and abroad, the work of our intelligence professionals in answering tactical, operational, and strategic level intelligence requirements in support of the warfighter and national decision makers remains vital to defending our country. And I was informed that you did have a very good discussion with my staff yesterday, so thank you for taking time to do that. And I do look forward to working with you on ways that we can enhance our nation's military intelligence capabilities. Now, in your statement, you list as one of your top priorities to ensure that current operations receive necessary intelligence support. And I do believe there is a need to enhance our efforts against ISIS and other terrorist groups, not only in the CENTCOM areas of responsibility, but also in Africa, where they are making headway in expanding the so-called caliphate. In Europe, both General Breedlove and General Hodges have told me they need more military intelligence capacity to counter Russian and transnational terrorist groups. And considering the past intelligence failures that we have had on anticipating Russian actions since 2008, we really cannot afford to be surprised by our adversaries again. So will you commit to me that if you are confirmed, you will examine DoD military intelligence capabilities, their force structure, and command relationships, as INSCOM plays a role in that as well, and seriously consider those reforms which could enhance our intelligence support to the warfighter?
I will, Senator. As the committee considers its review of Goldwater Nichols and defense reform, I think there are a number of areas within defense intelligence that would make sense to look at. One of the roles, or one of the questions, is the roles of service intelligence and how it can be best postured and optimized across each of the services, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps, in support of the warfighter. And I think that's a reasonable area to be looking at over time as the committee considers these reform efforts.
And Secretary, are there any specific examples that you would give, or any specific intelligence capabilities that you believe we should be doing better, investments that should be made, which could enhance those capabilities? Any specific examples?
A couple that immediately come to mind, Senator, are referenced the previous question about open source information and social media. This is, we are in a world where information, vast amounts of information are available in an unprecedented way. And being able to ensure that our warfighters and our analysts who are supporting the warfighters are able to leverage that to maximum extent is one. And then a second area is around the theme of integrated effort, jointness essentially for defense intelligence. We have a tremendous opportunity to use different intelligence disciplines to tip and cue each other. So a human intelligence report tipping from the Army perhaps, tipping a signals intelligence capability that then provides us imagery in a very rapid way to get at an operational mission and support of an operational mission. There is much more opportunity to leverage that than we've been able to in the past. And with technology and big data analytics heading where it is, if we can marshal those capabilities and harness them, that can bring powerful strategic effect to the United States military.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to working with you on that. Mr. Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before beginning my questions, I think one of the most important things that should be brought before this committee is that Mr. Lettre and his dad and brother through-hiked the Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia, which to me indicates a high level of perseverance, stamina, and I don't know about the intelligence part.
And insanity.
Yeah, well, okay. No, it's quite an achievement, and it is, and my hat is off to you. Starting in Maine, of course, was a good decision. You mentioned 17 agencies, and we're talking about a total intelligence budget of $70 billion a year. I just plead with you to be aware and try to find areas of overlap and duplication where we can save the taxpayers some money and yet still be effective. In terms of what you're doing is critically important. We heard this morning from Secretary Carter and General Silva about the importance of intelligence in this war with ISIS. But to the extent that you see areas of overlap, I hope that's something you will bring to us, bring to the Intelligence Committee, and bring to Jim Clapper so that we can try to do this as effectively as we can.
It will remain a focus for me if confirmed, Senator. Based on direction so far from this committee and from the Secretary of Defense to look for areas to reduce headquarters, for example, across the Department of Defense at the 25 to 30% level. The same thing is being looked at across Defense Intelligence in order to lean out headquarters where we can. But I would say that one of the main purposes of my office, in parallel with Director Clapper and his team, is to look for both efficiencies and effectiveness so that those 17 organizations increasingly are working in a joint way so that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts operationally, but also from a good stewardship of the taxpayer dollar perspective as well.
Thank you. One of the great challenges of a very recent challenge in terms of intelligence is the going dark phenomenon, encryption, worldwide encryption, which means that unless some solution is found, which is very difficult, as you know, signals intelligence isn't going to be as important as it once was. Do you see, or do you believe it should be a priority to rebalance toward human intelligence in order to compensate for this loss of capacity?
That's one piece of the response that's necessary, Senator. We need to pursue excellence in all of our intelligence disciplines: human intelligence, signals intelligence, geospatial intelligence, and so forth. But within the confines of the going dark problem, I think it's important to underscore it is unfortunately the case that adversaries are learning from the amazing operations that our military and our intelligence and law enforcement community are able to conduct, and learning how to avoid the watchful eye. And that is a troublesome dynamic. It puts at risk our ability to successfully interdict terrorist plots.
I just want to be sure we're reacting to this changed intelligence battlefield in an agile manner and in a quick manner, not saying, well, we've always done it this way for the last 15 or 20 years. I think that the landscape is changing significantly just in the past 6 months. And we have to really react to that. One final, not really a question, but the issue of analytic integrity. The chairman mentioned this. This is something that is of the gravest concern, because if our leaders, if the president isn't getting good intelligence, good straight information, it can have disastrous results, and I mean disastrous results. So not only do we look forward to the response to the Inspector General's report, but I think as a leader of an intelligence agency, you have to continually work on the issue of analytic integrity. There's always a human tendency to tell the boss what they want to hear, and I hope that will be a priority for you.
It will remain a priority, Senator. This is also an area where the Secretary of Defense and other defense leaders have made a point of repeating how important it is that their expectations are met, that analysts know they can and should speak truth to power.
Their expectations for good data, that's the expectation that we want to meet. Mr. Camarillo, I've used up my time. I would like, for the record, if you could give us your thoughts. We did a piece on retirement in the Defense Authorization Act, as you know. What other areas of attention should we be making in terms of personnel focusing on efficiency, but also retention and recruitment? And I would like very much to have your thoughts on that. And Mr. Sparks, I think the issue that is of grave concern to all of us on sexual assault is the issue of how do we deal with retaliation. That seems to be one of the major stumbling blocks to a successful culture change in this area. And again, for the record, if you could...
If I could ask, we have sufficient time if you'd rather just get verbal responses.
Okay, that'd be fine. Well, Mr. Camarillo, do you have any thoughts on this issue of what else should we do other than what we've done on retirement in order to ensure that we have sufficient recruitment and retention to maintain the high level of professionalism that the Air Force has now achieved?
Senator, I would want to first have the opportunity to examine the current tools and incentives that the Air Force employs and how effective they are in retaining the talent they need for their airmen moving forward before I were to give you that assessment. However, I will say that I think the Department is conducting, and the Air Force is part of it, a comprehensive review right now of what those incentives need to be, whether we're looking at military compensation retirement in conjunction with the efforts taken by this committee, as well as some of the incentives that were provided in the recent Defense Authorization Act in the area, for example, going back earlier to the RPA pilots. I think we'd have to look systematically at all of these options in conjunction with the other areas explored by this committee in defense reform to give you a complete answer. And I'm confirmed I look forward to working with you on that.
I certainly hope so, because I think as we move out of the recession and the economy improves, the retention and recruitment could prove more difficult. And I think it's something we need to attend to before it becomes a serious problem. Mr. Sparks, your thoughts on retaliation and how we criminalize it or punish it or discourage it. It seems to me that's at the core of part of the problem of not reporting sexual assaults in the military.
Thank you, Senator, and I agree. I will say this about sexual assault, and specifically sexual assault victims, is that the good work that has been done up to this point by the Congress, the media, and others, the attention that they have focused on this issue is welcomed and, quite frankly, long awaited. I was heartened by the provisions in the most recent Authorization Act dealing with sexual assault victims and their ability to report, and the provisions that actually prevent or are designed to prevent retaliation against those who support sexual assault victims or report on their behalf. And so I believe that time will tell whether or not this is enough, but I only hope that the good work done in the Congress and elsewhere will continue.
I appreciate that, and I'm not entirely sure of what the proprieties are in terms of your interaction with the Congress if and when you are confirmed, but to the extent you can provide us with some of your accumulated wisdom as we continue to work on this problem, I think that would be very helpful to the committee. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Admiral, we've talked about this, the idea that we're at this moment in time when we're suffering from literally a heroin epidemic all over the country, including, tragically, in my state of Maine. What is it you need in order to interdict more of those ships? Is it intelligence? Is it ships? Is it manpower? What's the shortfall? I mean, we're spending a lot of time here talking about the threat of ISIS, and in the meantime, we've got this other threat that is killing, in my state, 200 or 300 people a year.
Senator, I think all of the elements that you've identified are critical. It takes the putting together of a comprehensive network to be able to understand the network that is currently moving drugs, but as we've seen, these transnational criminal networks are also capable of moving weapons, bulk cash. They're engaged in human trafficking, and so it is an entity that is a network out there, and we've got to understand that network. We've got to be able to illuminate it and dismantle it, and that's going to take the efforts of the elements of our intelligence community, our law enforcement community, ultimately pieces of our military, not the high-end pieces of the military, frankly, but enough to be able to support that end game of interdiction.
Well, because you are where you are, assuming you're approved at Southcom, you're going to be in the point of this, and to the extent you can tell us what you need, not necessarily in terms of military assets, but comprehensively, because this is a true crisis in this country today, and and supply is part of the problem. It's not the whole. Obviously, we need to talk about treatment, prevention, and all of those issues, but supply is part of it. And my understanding is a great deal of this heroin, particularly, is coming up through from south of our borders.
That's correct. My understanding is that all of the heroin that comes into the United States is coming from countries just to the south of our border, and so it's for that reason that if confirmed, I'd absolutely look forward to working with you to try to describe in a compelling manner just exactly what the force elements might be. But I would caution that there will be no single source, single point solution to this problem. If there was, it would have been discovered and implemented a long time ago. As you have pointed out and as we have discussed, the supply reduction is only a piece of the problem. The demand reduction is the part that an equal degree of effort will obviously have to be devoted to. If we can't really make a dent in that demand side, it's akin to having the best bilge pump in the world in your boat, but if you can't repair that hole in the hull by solving the demand side, then the boat's going to sink.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think you'll see, Admiral, that a great deal of that, overwhelming majority of that heroin is coming across the Sonora-Arizona border, which is obviously very disturbing to all of us who live in the state. And it has reached, epidemic isn't the word, but there's been a dramatic increase in drug overdose deaths in both Midwest and Northeast as a result of this, including Maine when it gets really cold. Senator Ayotte is on her way here, so I would just like to say that we will move your nominations as quickly as possible. If, unfortunately, we are in next week, I will see if we can't get it to the floor of the Senate. So if you receive written questions from any of the members, please return the answers as rapidly as you can. And you're coming to these positions in what most experts believe are the most challenging times in our history since the end of World War II. I don't think there's much argument about that. And so it'll probably require long hours and time away from your families, and we regret that, and we're very honored that your family is here today in support of you. And if Senator Ayotte does not show up, I'm going to have to let her ask in another day, do you think, Jack? The only other...
That's why they pay you to be chairman, Mr. Chairman.
The only other request I would have of you, Mr. Sparks and Vice Admiral Tidd, you might work up a condolence note to be delivered to Senator Reid sometime late Saturday afternoon. This hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Go Army.